Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your other Shorty, and today we're going to carry on and see if Matt Cave Studio is going to again do an amazing comic book which I absolutely fall in love with. This one is Prairie Gods, and I'm going to just get right to it. I do absolutely really like this comic book. I love it in its own little way, but I think it's probably the hardest one to sell to the people because the things I love about it aren't necessarily the kind of things I think a lot of people go to comic books for. And that's because this is a story of a car race. And I'm not really a fan of motorsports. I've never really got excited about F1 or whatever thing the Americans do when it goes round and round and round in a circle. But I really enjoy movies about this kind of thing. Rush is one of my favourites. The Ford versus Ferrari movie, Le Mans, is absolutely spectacular. And I think there's an awful lot of drama and intrigue, and there are fantastic stories you can tell within this world. But the actual act of just the cars going round fast in a circle or in an oval or whatever kind of shape, that in and of itself isn't the most exciting thing for me to watch. But I do like what this comic book does within that framework, because it tells a Wild West story in its own way. Not 100%, but it borrows from the aesthetic, and it takes some character beats that are seen in Wild West media, and it does really cool things in them. First off, it looks amazing too. It's all one guy, by the way. I'm going to check the name here, Sean Connery-Volk, who does the art and the writing for it, and this really does help get like a full, complete idea of the art marrying with story really effectively. And the art is stuff I really like. It's kind of scratchy, it's kind of loose, controlled when it needs to be, and dynamic as all hell. There is wonderful moments of control over the scene, where he's put his POV somewhere where you're going to get the absolute most from a still image of a very fast event. And I can't really describe it better than that, but I mean, we have moments of just like two cars nosing gently in front of each other, but the camera angle, point of view angle is so tight that you can't help but find yourself on the edge of the seat, even though it's just a picture of a thing that we're imagining. It's brilliantly done, though. I absolutely love it. The character design is also absolutely fantastic. But it is the Wild West kind of thing which intrigued me originally. I mean, with a title like Prairie Gods, that is something which is going to scratch the itch for me very quickly. And in this one, we have this main character who is, well, he's a race car driver, but in my mind, he's a gunslinger. There's certainly a hint of outlaw about him. The one occasion we see him engaging with law enforcement, there is like a begrudging respect of a man who has lived a life on the edges, who has survived it and is grown old, and the law kind of sees that as like, well, he's certainly not going to cause any trouble anymore. But this gunslinger, outlaw, race car driver was the fastest there was, and he survived, and that feels very Wild West. This idea of the old gunslinger still going to the saloon, everyone respects him, but nobody looks at him in the same way they used to. He's a guy who people might think he's past his prime, but for him, all it means is he survived all those chances he had of a storybook death, going into legend as the guy who died doing the thing. They've passed him by, and he's now the old guy. And yes, he still has that respect. Yes, he was still the fastest of what he did. But he starts looking at his life in the rearview mirror and wondering maybe that great death might have been a better payoff. And he starts looking for his next challenge. And it's hard for him to do. He's an old man. It's hard for him to find people who would be willing to compete. But he finds a way and puts everything on the line. And then we get what is the body of the comic book, one race scene. And it is brilliant. It's very hard to describe how effective you have to be at art and storytelling for something like this to work when it's literally just still images of something which is known for its dynamism. But as I've said repeatedly in the reviews, a good comic book artist can do this kind of thing. It can take still images and make you absolutely convinced that what you're seeing is a snapshot of motion rather than just putting in motion lines or motion blur. Actually tell a very, very, very well realised visual story. And it could have ended. This could be a totally self-contained story. It all makes sense within the narrative of what we've got here. We have this beginning, middle, and end. We have this character making his decisions and acting on them and then living with the results of them. But there's enough left. There's enough threads hanging that there's more to come. And I'm glad that they are carrying on with it. I can't wait to see what they do next. There's some world-building elements which I think we've just scratched the surface of. There are some characters who clearly have deeper lore connecting them to this guy's story, and I want to see how that plays out. And more than anything else, I want to see more of him drawing these car scenes, these car racing scenes. I don't think I've ever seen an artist do anything this well. I read Petrolhead not that long ago, which has a whole bunch of car race sequences in it. This one feels far more vital to me. It feels more like you get a sense of what it is to be on the edge of what is possible when you're in a vehicle, and I just genuinely love it. But if this is not your bag, I can totally see why this one might pass you by. But honestly, if you're going to ever give something a bit of a shot that might be out of your comfort zone, I would say this one would be worth taking a look at. That's it from me today. I've got a few more things to review this week. It's pretty quiet though. Make sure you do the social media things so you don't miss anything. Until I see you again, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.